What is up, Brady Russell? Thank you so much for joining the podcast today.
Absolutely. It's good to be here.
This is so fun. I know I got to be in Seattle with you this summer, so cool that we get to do this interview. But I would love to start off and ask you the question I ask every guest on this podcast. What are you all about right now?
Well, I'm kind of speed dating, if you will. That probably comes off wrong, but I met a girl in October, and I already got engaged last weekend, and we're trying to be married by the end of March.
Crazy.
So now there's not a whole lot of anything I'm doing except for like meeting family and her meeting mine and traveling around, checking all the boxes, if you will.
Yes, that's so exciting. And your beautiful fiance, Annie, is actually in the room with us recording right now.
Yep.
So no pressure, but I would love to just ask you about how you proposed and just what all went into that moment.
Actually, quite a bit. It was funny. I was trying to figure out where to do it, but we were going to get to Colorado on the same day, so I couldn't go scout out spots or anything. So shout out Alex, one of my best friends. He went up on top of this mountain and FaceTimed me, but on top of a mountain isn't a super good place to not have a cameraman get caught and also find a good place to kneel. So we were like finding spots to knee and do all the things, and then he like put sticks on the ground where I was supposed to kneel and like where she was supposed to be standing.
All over FaceTime.
And
this
the
was
camera
planned.
guy was hidden somewhere. Yeah. Well, and then he sent me like a 3-minute video from the parking lot walking the path over where I needed to go. It was pretty funny. But
Do you think Annie had any idea that this was going down?
Yeah. We kind of already planned an elopement for the end of March. So, like, it had to happen.
It had to happen.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
And she also always talks about how much she loves Valentine's Day.
I love it. That's so cool. Well, you must really trust Alex, your friend Alex. When did you meet Alex? How long have you known him?
He was our punter at Colorado, but he punted at one of my rival high schools, and he's 2 years older than me. But then when I got to Colorado, he was a dude with like probably a foot-long mullet, so naturally I gravitated toward him.
With the long hair,
Yeah.
yes. Well, I have to ask you about that, the really long hair. When did that start? Have you always had long hair?
This summer will be my 10th year.
Having
growing
long
it.
hair.
Well, I
growing
mean,
it
I
out.
cut it 10 years ago. I had like a buzz cut for my oldest brother's wedding. Yeah, and then I just never cut it after that. That was junior year of high school.
So will you cut it for your wedding?
No.
No?
I think she tells me she likes me.
Okay, well, you'll find out. We'll find out later. Well, that's awesome. I loved hearing that just story about that and how exciting for you, all these fun things coming up with her and the new life that you guys have. But I would love to just ask you about your pregame outfits because I got to be in Seattle for training camp and got to go to some of those first games. But I did miss a game that was in October. And I have to ask you if this one outfit made it on the Jumbotron or not, because I know they were doing like a pregame fit on the Jumbotron.
Yeah.
Do you know what outfit I'm talking about? It was in October.
It had to be my Scottish
It had to be the kilt.
Right?
What was the story behind the kilt outfit?
We'd always been relatively in touch with our roots. Like I have my family crest on my chest, and so do essentially all the guys in my family. But my grandparents had finally gone on a trip to Scotland, and my grandma found out we were descendants from William Wallace's mom. Do you know William Wallace?
No.
Well,
Who is William Wallace?
You know Braveheart?
Yes.
The main character in Braveheart?
Okay, this is a
His
big
mom.
deal.
It is a big deal.
This is a big deal.
So my grandparents texted me like, "Do you want a kilt like from Scotland and all the things?" And they like got the whole get up.
I mean,
so.
it was the whole. We'll find a photo of it, but it was the full deal.
Yeah, it was the whole thing.
Did it make it on the Jumbotron?
I don't know, probably. I feel like it had to.
You were locked into
I
the
mean,
game.
like 90% of the time I make it up. My fits kind of go crazy.
Your fits kind of go crazy. That's good. Well, I had to ask because I remember that being just such a fun part of my training camp experience, seeing all the fun, fits that you had for that. And I had to ask if the kilt made it on the Jumbotron or not.
I think it did.
It definitely did. Well, Brady, I would love to talk about your time with the Seahawks and just your experience in the NFL. But I want to go back first, your time at Colorado, because you were tight end at Colorado. And it's kind of cool because my grandfather, my papa, played tight end at CU as well. So why did you choose Colorado?
To be honest, I was wanting to go to Wyoming, and then it was between Wyoming, Colorado State, and Colorado because I had some small like Division I AA offers, but I was pretty convinced I could play at a higher level. And then my dad still had 2 years of free school from his time in the military that he could use on me. So I was like, I want to walk on somewhere. And I thought some schools were going to offer me like Wyoming, but then Wyoming told me I was too slow to play defensive end in the Mountain West.
Really?
So
And how did that make you feel?
Slighted for sure,
Yeah.
but I don't know if there's a football player in the NFL that hasn't felt slighted at some point. That's part of why we all make it, right? So, Wyoming said 3-tech though, and I was like, if I walk on, can I choose what position I play? And they're like, no, you're a defensive tackle. So, didn't do that clearly.
Yeah.
Colorado State said strong side 5-tech, and then I had felt like Colorado was the most honest with me from the start. I think they told me before my senior year, it was like, we'd love for you to walk on, but we're definitely never going to have a spot for you. Whereas there was other recruiting stuff that just made me kind of salty towards those schools. So Colorado ended up being the place. I thought I was going to be a pass rusher, but switched to tight end.
Wow, that's wild. And playing tight end, I know, college football, you do get moved around a lot, even if you go in and you think that you're going to be one position. But had that always been a goal of yours that, hey, I really want to play tight end, or was it just, I love football and that's what it is?
Honestly, my senior year of high school, I played like a little bit of tight end. I think I had like 7 catches that year or something. But mostly I was just all over the D-line. And then when Colorado said the idea of playing tight end, I was like, I feel like I could be good at that. I don't have to be quite as freak of an athlete as like Myles Garrett and some of those edge guys. Like I'm not running a 4.4, and I'm also got a little bit of meat on my belly.
Hey, this is what I'll say.
So
This is what I'll say about
fit.
that. My dad played quarterback, and growing up, we would always make fun of him and be like, oh, Dad, like, your belly, whatever. He's like, listen, if I get tackled, I need some protection.
It's a healthy belly.
He's like, yes. He's like, it's a layer of protection. So, listen, you're going to hit people. They're going to hit you. You need to protect yourself in some way.
Bit.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
That's good. Well, Brady, while you're at CU, you're playing football, you're doing school, you're trying to meet friends, meet people. What did your faith look like during that time?
Yeah, there was kind of a very key turning point for me was my sophomore year. I just went through some crap in my life, and I realized I kind of got to a point where I felt like I was like half in, half out on the Lord. I'd always kind of thought I was sold out, but realized I was living more for the world than, like, I was still going to church on Sundays. I was still like in FCA and doing Bible studies and stuff, but I wasn't fully committed to that lifestyle, I guess. Or not lifestyle, but I didn't trust Jesus to lead my life. I trusted him to save me, but I didn't trust him to lead my life yet. And then I hit that point. It was a divorce of my parents, and it was just kind of messy, and things made me realize, like, I didn't want to live the lie of portraying some kind of image that I wasn't. So I was either going to sell out for Jesus or I was going to go the other way. And thankfully, by the grace of God, like, he brought me to him, and my life just looked super different going forward.
Yeah, that's awesome. You mentioned FCA as a faith community. Was there a specific person at your time at CU, or maybe a group, that really, when you look back, is like, man, they really poured into me during that time in my life?
I think I have 3 of them, really, that are all... It was kind of cool just to see when I can look back at it and see how God put them in my life at specific times when I needed them. Like my first year, there's a guy named Joey that was an intern on our staff. He was only like 2 or 3 years older than me. But I was in a place where I feel like I was probably about to enter into a pretty sinful pattern in my life. And he, like, the week it was probably going to happen, he comes in and he's like, you want to go to, like, get breakfast on Thursday? And then we started reading the Bible together. And then another guy later on that named Bo that just felt very led and taught me more about just, like, listening to the Spirit and following the Spirit and his path for me. Another guy later on named Ben, and all 3 of them are still super important mentors in my life. I can call them about anything, talk to them whenever, but that all happened when at my church we were talking about having a mentor, a mentee, and then a cohort. So someone that's pouring into you, you pour it into someone, and then people at your same kind of place in life too. And I still think that's super important to this day.
That's really awesome. And I love how you say it was an intern with the football team. Is that what was his role? Like, I think that's so cool, because I think athletes specifically, and especially in college, can get so wrapped up in, like, me and my teammates, and we're a little crew, and we're going to walk around campus together, and we're in our tight-knit bubble, and, we don't need to be friends with other people, or maybe non-athletes or other sports, or even just, like, if your team's having success or you're the team on campus, there can be some of this, like, little bit of a swag walk that you have, right?
Absolutely.
And so I love that you said that those people poured into you. Specifically, was it Joe? What was his name?
That was Joey.
Joey. I just love that you said that because it really is just showing like young people and young athletes like, hey, you got to get outside of your circle. You got to get outside of your bubble, and you're not too good for anyone to pour into you and to speak into your life.
When you get stuck in one spot, then you're never going to be able to grow quite as much. You should definitely diversify your group, whether it's through a group at church or through a group on campus or whatever. Like, you don't want to just be locked in with the same small group of people, or you're never going to grow your mind at all.
Definitely. And so just that was your sophomore year, you said. What did, the next 2 years for you look like at CU?
Well, next 4 years. I was there for 6.
Oh my goodness.
It was long. Yeah. What did they look like at CU? It's a good question. My next year was, I think, sophomore year, I took the starting job about halfway through the season. And then the rest of college I was starting, but dealt with some injury issues. Like in 2020, that was kind of the year I thought I might leave for the draft. And then tore my ankle up, and that was kind of a battle to just a mental battle, like, why did this happen when all these good things seem to be leading me toward what you have for me? But then this is what I feel like 90% of my life / career has been, is stuff happens and it's like, why me? Which shouldn't be the question. But like that spring, I had a teammate that, like, he asked me to go to church for the first time, and then he gets baptized. And like, that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't gotten injured, and then he gets injured too later that year, and he probably would have left for the draft too. Like, all these little things that happen that you don't know why at the time. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
The same thing kind of my senior year. I was convinced I had to stay for my 6th year rather than transfer. I wanted to transfer. But I prayed about it and felt like you're right where you need to be. Just be where your feet are. And so I think all these good things are going to come. Rather, it comes with another kind of injury-plagued senior year. We go 1-11, so like it's looking like the NFL is going to be way harder to reach than I thought.
You go 1-11.
Yeah, and I had like 20 catches. I mean, I didn't do much of anything. I played well when I was playing, but we struggled. I think we had 5 different starting quarterbacks that year. So
what?
Yeah, I mean,
5
it was
different
bad.
starting quarterbacks.
It was bad. We were probably one of the worst college football teams of all time.
So how did you still have that belief that, hey, I want to go to the NFL someday. I want to continue this. And how did you just get through that season, especially knowing the quarterback tight end relationship, right?
Yeah.
Like, how did you handle that as an athlete?
That's a good question. I didn't really think about that much. I think I just kind of always had an innate like feeling and drive that I could play, and I knew I was going to end up here somehow. And I felt like I'd done all the things to earn that right to at least get a shot, which I did end up getting a shot. It's a good question. Why? I don't know. I feel like it was just a trust in God. That's kind of all it comes down to. Because like I was saying, the hindsight thing, we're 1-10. We have 1 game left, and I had one of my teammates come up to me, and I was kind of at the point in the season where it's like, why did I come back here? Like, why did you want me here? Did I just hear you wrong? Was your spirit incorrect, if you will? Because obviously that wouldn't be his spirit if it was incorrect. But really just putting a lot of burden and pressure on myself for no reason, just like anger with how it's going and where I'm at. And that's when one of my teammates came up and he's like, hey, my relationship with God wouldn't be the same this year if it wasn't for when you started inviting me to church last spring. And so then it was like one of those moments like, gotcha. Like, even if that one guy was the only reason that God brought me back that last year, like that's all that I would really need for, like, even if I didn't go to the NFL for that one reason, like, that's fine.
That's so cool.
That's all right.
It's also so selfless, too, because that's not how the world wires you as an athlete, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, oh, for one person, like, but that is the gospel, and that is, like, what our calling is as Christians. And so I love that you're able to put that into perspective because, no one's athletic career is just going to be like this, right? It's going to be up and down, and some seasons of your life will be just to speak into someone or just to be there for someone. So I love that. And I want to touch on what you said with the hindsight, because fast forward, now you're in the NFL, you signed with the Eagles, and now you spent the last season with the Seahawks, and I would love to talk about that season with the Seahawks, but I want to go to a post that you had. It was a really powerful post on August 28th, and I'll read the captions because you probably don't remember what exact post that was, but it was right before
end of training camp?
It was at the end of training camp, and it was right before the season started. And I'll just read the beginning half of the caption because it was so powerful, and you mentioned hindsight and just, now understanding the clear picture on the back end of it. And you said, God doesn't use strong men. He uses men who have come to the end of their strength. Thankful to survive cut day for the first time. The evidence of Christ's hand over my life hasn't always been crystal clear, but when I look back, hindsight is 20/20. And you went on. So can you just describe what you meant by men who have come to the end of their strength?
Yes. Yeah, I think there's a few times in college that I'd been brought to the end of myself. Like, it's like, I don't got any more left in the tank. Like, I don't understand why I'm here, what I'm doing, kind of like I was telling you about just a second ago. But usually when you look at the Bible too, like, everybody that God uses, it's not guys that are perfect or anything like that. It's someone that's just crying out for Jesus' help. Like, they haven't done anything to earn that, right? I never earned like God's favor by any means, but once I finally stopped trying so hard and let God kind of take the wheel for me and shoulder the burden of my cares and my worries and shoulder the burden of everything. I mean, my new fiance, once I finally let go and was like, all right, I'm not looking, I'm not trying to go find anything. Like, if you want me to be married one day, sure, that'd be my dream, but if not, that's fine. And that's when everything just kind of happens. So
it's so cool.
Usually it seems to be, not that I'm not working, but when you surrender, I think surrender is probably one of the most active forms of worship and constant forms of worship. And when you finally do surrender, that's when you might turn a corner.
I've never heard anyone say that before about surrender being a form of worship, but like that just, I absolutely love that. I think that's so cool. And I do want to go back to kind of what you said about that surrender and just playing free, because when you watch you on the field, people, at least this summer in Seattle, were saying, man of the people, look at Brady. He's dancing. He's having fun. He's vibing out there. And you have that spirit about you when people watch you. You look like you're having fun. You look loose. You look like you're not tense and stressed. But I'm sure you are like aggressively game planning and care so much about what's going on. But it's not your overall physical presence. It doesn't look like you're tense.
Yeah.
So for young athletes who might struggle with being super, rock solid on the field and so stressed out, how do you think that they should play free, and how do you do that?
I think a lot of that comes down to, I guess surrender, like you're just saying. If you are so worried and carrying the burden of like, you have to make this play right, or you have to perform in this certain way, then like you're going to not play as well because you're tense and you're hung up. And I mean, preparation and first off will make you play looser because you're ready, but also like giving that burden to God and not like letting Him care. Like, if I have a bad performance, God knew that was going to happen. He knew I was going to be there. Why would I be worried about like a bad play? Or if I do have a bad play, why would I worry about that? Because it's going to affect the next one. Like, God knew that was going to happen. If I have an awful game and I get cut and I wind up in the streets and I go find a job somewhere else, like, that was within God's will. There's no reason for me to be stressed about making the next play or stressed about, like, reading the defense incorrectly. Like, whatever that could be, like, there's never a reason to worry. So, not that I don't ever worry, but I think the Spirit in me does do a pretty dang good job of keeping me relaxed.
Good. Pretty dang good job. It does. And like you said, you're definitely like, shoo, I just dropped that pass, or man, I should have had a better block, or whatever it is. But you're able to get over it quicker, right? Like, it's not that you don't feel that anger or disappointment, or, I wish I would have made the team, or I wish I would have had the starting spot, but you just can get over it quicker, and you don't sit in that, uncontentment, right?
Yeah, there's no reason to dwell in it. All you can do is move on to the next thing and try to do it better. And what verse is it? I think it's in Romans 12, maybe. It says, do not be slothful in zeal. But so, like, I feel like there's a lot of Christians that might portray the image that they're really, really faithful and this and that, but they're just stoic statues, not any fun. But that verse says, do not be slothful in zeal, but be fervent in spirit. And fervent's like boiling over. So I feel like I want to carry that. Like, we shouldn't look like the rest of the world as Christians. We shouldn't act like and try to be something that we aren't. I'm going to just be who I am, and I'm going to be boiling over in the spirit.
I love that. Boiling over. And speaking of boiling over, do you have a favorite, really fun memory from this past season with the Seattle Seahawks?
Oh, gosh. Favorite, really fun memory. The first thing I want to say is when we beat the Niners, but I was at home because I got hurt that week. But
it's very unselfish of you to say. It's a huge game for the Seahawks.
We got a game winning and Gino ran it in.
It's awesome. So cool. Well, I love that.
Yeah, no, it was like joy and also a little bit of envy because, like, man, I wish I was there and playing.
Well, hey, that just shows Brady's heart if that was your favorite moment. But
there's got to be some others. I don't know.
I liked your mic'd up. They mic'd you up for one game. Yeah. Were you thinking about being mic'd up the whole time? No, or were you just like saying whatever you were thinking?
No, I was laughing after. It's like, I hope you guys cut at least a majority of what I was saying. Because it was, I just talk a lot in games and stuff. I'm yelling always. There's always just a lot of energy. I can't hold it in.
Someone's always got to be the talker because some people like to be very like into themselves and they need other people to speak into them. I know I had certain teammates that you would want them to cheer you on when you were doing the run test, and other teammates you're like, don't talk to me while I'm running. So everybody's got a different way to do it. But Brady, last question. Before your games, do you wear headphones or no headphones?
In the locker room, I typically have headphones. But also, I'm like I love routines, so pregame I try to be anti-routine, so there's sometimes I won't have them. Okay, so what are you listening to when you are listening? It's worship mostly.
Music.
I'll throw a good country song, a good rock song in there once in a while, but mostly just worship.
And do you have a favorite worship album, singer?
No, absolutely not.
Just everything?
All of them.
All of them.
It's whatever I'm feeling at the time.
Good.
What was my song last year? I had one song that I was really into. I do have a new favorite singer. Who's my new favorite singer? Charity, Gail. Yeah.
Love it. Fired. Good plug. Well, Brady, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We're cheering you on, and people need to be a fan of you and follow you because you are spreading good news and the good word. So thanks for coming on.
I appreciate it. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Go Hawks!